This video is going to teach you how to use waste yarn and particularly on how to remove it without having to cut it out of your project. So this is really nice to use on a project on your circular knitting machine with the tube. And when you want to close up both ends of the tubes to like the end of a scarf for a infinity scarf or for gloves, that's what I'm making here. So waste yarn is used at the beginning and end of your project. And at the end of your project, you put on the waste yarn and then you remove it from, you drop it from the machine. And this side, when you pull the end of that waste yarn, it's going to unravel because it is not locked in place. And when you pull it, it just comes out like butter. Super easy, super satisfying to do. I do recommend using a high contrast color, so when you're picking up the stitches and you're stitching it in place, your project, you can see the difference between the waste yarn and your actual project. The only thing you want to do is make sure you don't miss a stitch, because if you do, your project will unravel. And I'll do a tutorial about if you do miss a stitch, how to fix that before the project completely unravels. So that was the easy side, but the side that you begin with when you yarn on, where that outer end of your yarn is, it's locked in place. If you pull it, it does not come undone. So if you pull out the wrong stitches at this point, it's gonna knot and then you're having to cut it out of your project. So the easiest way to do, and I'm doing this all in real time so you can see how fast it is, it doesn't take too long. You just wanna find the outer end of that yarn, and once you can pull your end free, that's the row you want to work on all the way around. And so it does just take a little bit of time, but it's not too much, it's just a few minutes. If you pull on the stitch and your end does not move, that's the wrong stitch, and so you just need to kind of, because it rolls a little bit, unroll it and find that piece where it moves, that end piece, and then you can pull it out of your stitch. And so this take a little bit of time finding those ends, that correct end, and pulling it. And then once it's pulled out, now the project isn't secure, so those other ends can start pulling out real easy. You just want to be careful you're not pulling on those, or else they can start to unravel before the rest of it's able to unravel, and then it will knot again and you might have to cut it out. This way you can reuse this waste yarn on several projects before it kind of gets too fuzzy from pulling it out and having to get new one. So I like to use yarn that either I don't have enough to make a project. This little yarn ball makes about 7 rows, which is I like for my projects, or just yarn I don't care for and I don't want to make a project out of. I'll use that as my waste yarn. So as you can see, we're almost around. And I just keep pulling it and fiddling with it, but I don't pull too hard in case it's the wrong stitch. Like that one there, it was kind of caught. Almost done now. And so once this first row is out, which was your yarn on row, once it's completely out, you're going to see how nothing's locked in place, and then you can just pull it and it will come out super easy, like the end waste yarn did that we did first. So here it should be all undone now, and now we can just pull and it's going to come completely off of your project, leaving you a nice clean finished line for your project that's sewn together at the end. And there we go. Now it's almost completely out. Once it's out, you can just roll it up into a ball and put it in your yarn bag to use on another project.